No, yes you are.
Oh, we can't even hear you from here.
Okay. I can't hear you.
It turns out Pyle is sponsoring the farm union. We didn't know that.
Okay, so I designed this cover crop mix basically just based on, oh my goodness, based upon trial and error. Sorry if I'm shouting at you guys.
No.
But yeah, I've been working with cover crops out at Hark for about 8 years or so, and mostly we were just working with sun hemp to start. We started using other species as time went on. Got into species mixes about 2014, I'd say, and it's been a lot of trial and error, mostly error. Just kind of mixing different things together and seeing how they go. So at this point, I'm doing research on basically ratios of seed in the mix and types of covers to mix together, trying to kind of get an ideal blend. We also have a trial in right now where we've got 12 plots, and we're basically looking at the chemical, the physical, and the biological changes in the soil. So we collected a bunch of baseline data on our soils, which have been just traditionally, tilled like crazy. And now we're doing no-till cover crop, and in each of those plots we've got different species mixes. So we kind of want to see, does any species mix have a more beneficial impact on our soil than another, or does it even matter, or is it just good that we're covering it in general? So so anyway, what we have here, we should be standing over there, but basically there's a couple of small plots on this side where we have the single species plantings and just really small plantings, and then there's like about a 10-foot wide row of sun hemp right here. That we were going to roller crimp with our no-till equipment, but unfortunately technical issues, so I'm just going to show it to you instead in the back of my truck. And then the mixed species cover crop planting here is a mix of 5 different species that we've just had a lot of luck with on our farm over in Kunia, and this climate is not dramatically different from where we're at. It's also pretty dry where I'm at. So yeah, they do pretty well in the summertime, so I just made that blend for Christian to test out and see how he likes it. And one of the things I hope you guys will do if you get some time, maybe not during the discussion, but afterwards, walk into this field and walk through the single species and just look at the difference. It's like very night and day. It's gorgeous in there. So, okay, that's it. Okay.
So what's thrown in there?
Sorghum Sudan, sun hemp, oats, buckwheat, and lab.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sorghum Sudan.
The sorghum Sudan's a hybrid, sterile, so if it seeds, it doesn't.
So there's a total of 5 or 6?
5?
I thought it was 6.
There are 6.
Sorry,
yeah.
6.
Radish?
Oh gosh, I forgot radish. Yeah, tillage radish. That's a newer one. Yeah, we've been working with. Yeah.
Looks like daikon right there.
It's not daikon. It's the tillage radish that's sold by Kolau Seed. If you guys know Susan over on the windward side, it's the variety that she sells. So.
Jen, how much rain have you had here lately? I mean, all the kiavis are green. The ground is damp.
They've had rain.
Yeah.
They've had rain.
Well, I know they've had rain, but how much?
A good dump, a couple inches in the past week, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're all on different parts of this island. Christian's the guy on site here, and he's back making sure everybody has a good time at the farm fair. So excuse us for not having the exact site answers for you.
Before, and when was it planted?
So this was planted
About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Yeah. This area had been fallowed for quite some time. And was ripped and then tilled several times before planting by Christian and his crew.
And it basically just looked like what you see around you, like mostly chaotic.
Is it irrigated at all?
Yes, it is irrigated. They've got sprinkler irrigators. There's different types of irrigation you can do, and if you want, I'm going to be talking about equipment specifically, so if you have questions about irrigation, that's probably the appropriate place, and I'll just talk about what we do. I can show you what they did.
Can everybody hear her in the back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll show you guys the irrigation stuff. Oh, you want to know the species? Yeah. It's sorghum Sudan, sun hemp, oats, lab, radish, buckwheat.
Is the lab sterile?
The lab, no, it's not. You take it down before it seeds, though. This is right about termination time. 6 weeks is about right. It's depending on the cover crop you're using, and we can talk more about that too.
It's very impressive that everybody's here. That at the end of the last workshop, this is just as populated as Peter's. So I'm really happy to know that the 2 top workshops that we had planned are being so populated and people are so interested. So very cool.
I have one question, Fast. So the no-till won't be demo today?
No, but I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. Is it because it can't come out of the truck?
Yeah,
Is there enough people to lift it?
Oh
Well, also we're missing a pin for the PCS. I can't have it hanging off the
Yeah.
PTO.
Yeah, yeah.
So I know I really wanted to do this last minute. It didn't work out. But
Peter,
help us make
Need a horse.
Peter knows how to make it work.
Yeah,
Okay, I just want to, I will say a couple of more words about the layout of the planting, just for also for our four soil experts who are going to be breaking people off. Along this side of the planting, we have single species blocks, of the lablab, followed by black oats, followed by tillage radish, followed by buckwheat. Okay, and then right behind me is a 10-foot strip of sun hemp, pure sun hemp monoculture. Okay, we had this set up for a roller crimper demo, which unfortunately hit a couple equipment snags, but you guys can see that. And then everything else to this side is those 5 species, along with the sorghum Sudan grass in a blend. All right.
I had wanted to have a backhoe trench that we could walk in and see the root structure down the side of, but
Just give him a shovel, somebody.
they weren't able to get that done, and so this is what we're doing instead.
Good idea.
And so we'll turn it over to Gabe. Gabe, we've got about 10 minutes, and then we'll split it out into the groups with the four people.
Okay, thank you. See, I am using this.
Thanks, Gabe.
Okay. So, the first thing that one needs to ask himself when planting a cover crop is, what's my resource concern, right? What was Christian trying to do here? Now, obviously, this is new land that he's taken over. Chances are it's been tilled and abused a bit. Okay, so what do we want to do?
Stop the weeds from growing.
Stop the weeds from growing is one.
Add nitrogen.
I did. Increase biocarbons.
Stop it from eroding.
Add
Stop
nitrogen.
it from eroding. Add nitrogen.
Soil
But I have
diversity.
yet to hear the most important one.
Microbes, soil diversity.
Biology.
Yeah, okay.
You cannot grow soil without biology. It's all about biology. So, what species do we need, or combination thereof, to increase soil biology? How are you going to form soil aggregates?
Worms?
Diversity, and that's exactly right, and biology. Now, I know I've been here several days, and I've heard a lot of talk about sun hemp. Sun hemp alone is not going to increase biology. The other thing about, I just want to say it as I'm thinking about it, about monoculture legumes, you will decrease infiltration with monoculture legumes. You're going to decrease, what did Bob talk about? For those of you who were in Bob's workshop yesterday, his session, he talked about what? Soil aggregates and pore spaces. The only way you're going to make soil aggregates is with mycorrhizal fungi and biology. Soil aggregates will increase pore spaces. To do that, you really need the fibrous root systems. And if you look here, your grass plants, such as sorghum Sudan, you see what's clinging to these roots? That's the formation of new soil aggregates. A soil aggregate will only last approximately 4 weeks, and then it's going to be broken down. So the only way you're going to build new ones is if you have biology and mycorrhizal fungi. You need diversity in order to do that. You're not going to get it with single species. Yes, sun hemp does serve a real purpose for nitrogen fixation, and it does a pretty good job of weed control. But realize, over long term, it's not going to be the total answer. So, we put these in combinations in order to take advantage of the synergies of each plant. Because the legumes, sun hemp and lablab, are going to fix nitrogen through mycorrhizal fungi. The grass plants, sorghum Sudan and oats, are going to use some of that end. Of course, the legumes will use some, but these will use some also and increase their growth. Now, I just got here, but if I walked in here, I could do a quick biomass estimate of each of these, and I'll guarantee you the diverse polyculture will be considerably more biomass. What does that do for us? Biomass area.
More exudates.
Increases it.
You're going to increase what? 2 things.
Water storage?
Photosynthetic rate
Right.
and photosynthetic capacity.
And biomass.
And what that is, photosynthetic rate, photosynthetic capacity, it's the ability, the total amount of sunlight that will be collected in a particular field, and then the amount that can be converted into biomass. You're exactly right. So that's going to dictate how much carbon then. We take CO2 out of the atmosphere through photosynthesis, pumped through root exudates to feed biology. And that's what it's about in simplistic terms.
Right.
And if you want to learn a lot more about it, ask Bob, because he can explain. But that's what we're really trying to do. You know, is how do we capture what's free, more or less?
Right.
True, we have to grow something, but we're not buying these inputs. We're using, you know, and if you were at Peter's demonstration, what's the V trellis do? And I'm just fascinated by it because it makes perfect sense.
Increases photosynthesis.
It increases the amount of sunlight that can be captured by that plant. You know, thus you're going to get more fruit. I mean, it just makes simple sense. And that's what we're trying to do here. So we need to take that in mind. Now, I mentioned it yesterday in my presentation, but if you study the ecological papers, there's a real advantage to having like 7 species versus 1 or 2 or 3. And so, you know, there's no magic number, and at certain times of the year, and depending on your resource concern, you may not get to 7. But I'm just saying that there's benefits. You know, one of the things is, like, where I'm at in North Dakota, we see wild fluctuations in moisture, temperature. Some summers are hot and dry, some are cloudy. If you have diverse polyculture mixes, that builds resilience. Because some years one species may dominate, other years another one will. If you have more than one species in there, it gives you that resilience. So I encourage you to take advantage of things like that. Like I said yesterday, I cannot tell you which species is going to work on your operation. Neither can NRCS, you know, neither can Jamie, anyone. We can give you our best estimate and show you what's working in the area, but it's going to be up to everyone to try a little bit of their own. So don't be afraid to try things, because every soil's a little different, every climate's just a little bit different. So be willing to do that, you know. But there's one thing I'm 100% confident of. I can get cover crops to work on these islands, no problem. No problem at all. Which ones is going to take some learning to do. But what you're really trying to do is improve your soil structure, aggregation, nutrient cycling, infiltration. In time then, you'll hold the amount of moisture that you're able to hold in your soils to be used by that plant when it's needed. And that's what we want to do, is increase soil structure. Now, I realize that many of the producers here are organic producers. I realize you're going to do some tillage. I understand that. Just minimize the tillage passes, because every time you do that, you're going to destroy mycorrhizal fungi, you're destroying the home for biology, and you have to almost start over. You know, in my environment, I will tell you, one tillage pass, it takes me 20 years to rectify that situation.
Oh my God.
You know, now, because you can grow things for much longer than I can, you're going to be able to rectify that, you know. But I encourage you, you know, I was really encouraged that Jamie has access to a crop roller. That's the exact way to terminate these, because you're going to have to use something like that, and you're going to have species that are at the proper growth stage where rolling will terminate, you know, without a herbicide. Normally, that's just past flowering, normally. Wouldn't you say, Bob, for the environment? Yep.
Like the sun hemp, it'll start to get woody after its flowering stage.
Yep.
But oftentimes I'll take sun hemp, I'll let it go completely to brown, completely lignified, then just easily push it over.
Yep.
Now I've got lignified tissue. I'm looking for lignified tissue because this green stuff, once you put it in the ground or lay it on the surface, 60% of the carbon's going right out at the top. I want lignin for fungi because they develop humus.
That's exactly right. One other important thing I got to mention is, often we think of organic matter as being the biomass that we roll down. 2/3 of your organic matter increase is going to come from roots. Roots will put way more organic matter into the soil than will above ground biomass. As is above, so is below. So what you're seeing above ground, there's more than that below ground. So you need to be thinking of that. The other benefit, if you have livestock, we can double and triple root biomass by grazing a living cover crop and having those roots. They will proliferate. I'm familiar with the study on sorghum Sudan grass. If we graze sorghum Sudan during the growing season, we will triple root biomass, thus accelerating organic matter increase. And if we accelerate root development, we're going to have more soil aggregates, more pore spaces, more room for the roots, more room for the oxygen that Bob talked about, biology, etc., etc. It's a win-win-win situation.
Gabe, do you put a rotation in animals when you do it?
Do I rotate the animals? Absolutely. We're moving our livestock daily.
But I mean, you're using different animals. You're using
different species of animals if they're available to you. And we do that. We use beef, sheep, and our chickens primarily. I don't like to put hogs so much on our cropland because we're no-tillers. I mean, you got to be moving them daily. Otherwise, they're going to do too much tillage for my liking. But there is a place for them, yes.
So we had completely grassland, and we tilled up the first time to add minerals and amendments, and we planted our cover crop. Would you recommend us tilling in the cover crop, or would you recommend us just slash and drop and do that before our trees?
The question, he had perennial pasture land, grazing land, and then they tilled it up to add some amendments. And I would have liked to have seen which amendments you had to add.
Dolomite, Epsom salts, we did a lot of rock dust, so just...
Yeah, and I would say, depending on what was there, I'd question whether they were really needed or not. Realize that most soil tests, and I'm not doubting what you're saying, but just realize this, most soil tests out there don't tell you a darn thing, because all they're telling you is the amount of organic fraction that's in the soil that day. They don't explain how much biology is in there, and how much biology is going to determine how much of that organic fraction is going to be converted to inorganic. So 99% of the soil tests are done are wasted time and paper. Plain and simple, in my opinion. Bob may disagree, but I know I'm right. But no. I'm kidding.
That leaves a lot.
Yeah. So the question then was, should he till in the cover crop or roll it down? If you have, you're going to have bare soil if you till it. And bare soil is evaporation, no home for biology. I would take rolling over tilling in almost all situations. Not all, right? But most.
I mean, I think that we start tilling down legumes. A lot of us have in our heads for 20 years. I did green manures. Green manures, right? We grow up a legume, hit it at succulents, 4 inches in the ground. You can do that for 30 years straight and measure your SOM level every year, and you're going to find it goes up a little bit and back down, up a little bit and back down. It's like roughly eating lettuce all day. I love lettuce. I love salad. But if you're going to eat it all day.
Here. Yeah, you might as well talk. Actually, that's a good question.
I want to hop in and invite Bob to take that bit of knowledge for everybody. I want to break up into smaller groups and give you guys all of a chance to interact in smaller group settings with the experts we have today. So Bob, I want to ask everybody to be respectful. There's going to be a lot of questions. We're not going to have enough time for everybody's questions, and invite our 4 soil folks to really help everybody try to just see the field and see the soil a bit through your eyes in the 5 to 10 minutes. But I am going to ask everybody to help us put our soil experts to work. We're going to rotate each group. You have about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we're going to change it up. So you guys are going to do your spiel 4 times. But that's going to give us a chance to interact, I think, in a lot better dynamic, okay? Bob, can I ask you, and Bob did ask me for a shovel. There you go, Bob.
You see what's sticking to this shovel? Let's talk about it.
All right, so go talk about the shovel with Bob. Bob, walk him down. Can you walk down about 10 yards past the truck, because there'll be a group at the truck. And we're going to rotate so everybody will get a chance with everybody. A group with Jamie at the truck around the equipment. Gabe can just hold up the